Okay, so let's piece some things together. Oh, I see people. Hi. So hi, Logan. Hi, Vet. Hi, Ash. Hi, Phoebe. Good morning. So we're going to piece a couple things together, and hopefully you leave this session feeling a little more clarity. Okay. So whenever we read a story, teachers are going to ask you questions about this. It's not a trick. We're going to ask you questions about this. So this is a plot diagram, and we break down everything that we do into the beginning, the middle, and the end. So right now, we are in the exposition section. We're going to start seeing some conflict, and that's going to take us to the biggest point of conflict and the highest amount of tension in the story, and then we'll find a resolution. Okay, so this is where we are, and this can be the most confusing because we're trying to figure out where in all of history and all of the galaxies our story is taking place. And so in order to move forward and to understand what we're reading, we need to understand our setting. So when and where the story is taking place, because that's going to help us create a mental picture. If after reading this, you are still struggling to have a mental picture, it would be a really good idea to look at the graphic novel movie I posted in our section, because it highlights the most important pieces of the story, and it puts a visual into your mind. Okay. So the setting of Ayn Rand's Anthem is a dystopian future society. So it's after the fall of these previous times, these evil times. We know that there's lots of councils, that people are assigned a job for life by the Council of Vocations, and they're never allowed to be alone. There's some consistency happening where he moves from one building where there's 100 beds to another building where there's 100 beds. Hi, Diana. Hi, Sam. So this is kind of the map of what we are seeing so far. And we have like home of street sweepers and the theater. And this is kind of where home of the peasants. So like this is kind of where our guy lives. And then he is a street sweeper. So he also is in charge of, it's kind of like a garbage man street sweeper combo. So he's in charge of cleaning up the city in a certain part of the city. At the end of class, we just talked about how there's this uncharted forest. And this uncharted forest is pretty vast, that they can't actually see some of the stuff on the left side because of how vast this forest is. So that's going to come back into play. We also have characters. We have Equality 72521 is our main character. I'm just going to exit out of this. And he has, so our characters, they're individuals in the story. They're like what the author describes. They tell us what they look like, how they talk, how they think, and how they act. So here's some examples with Harry Potter. However, it's more applicable to try to piece that together for our characters. So we know he's taller than 6 feet. We know that he is curious and he asks questions, that he wanted to be a scholar. And he ended up being assigned a street sweeper for the rest of his life, or, until he's 40 and he has to go live at the home of the invalid because he can't work anymore. We saw a little bit of what his job was like. He works for like 10 hours and then he gets a 30-minute break, and then he works for like 10 hours more and gets a dinner break, and then they go and have mandatory recreation time. And that's what his day like. Like, it just keeps repeating like that. So, I tried to grab this graphic novel picture. There he is. So in the graphic novel, this is what he looks like. And we don't actually see what he really looks like until the end of the book, when he looks into a mirror and a stream for the first time. So keep that in mind. Hi, Mira. Good morning. Okay. So whenever we start a new story, these are the things that we focus on, and what we're focusing on in the beginning is our setting and our conflict, and our setting and our characters, and then the conflict that happens from our characters. So we've been reading, and he says things like, we have committed a great crime. What he means is, I've committed a crime, because we identified that was the missing piece, that he refers to himself, like when he should say I, he says we. And that's part of this society that's been created, is that they value the collective good so much so that they don't use that word anymore, at least not in common language. Okay. So what I want to know is, what is one question about Anthem that you still have? Because I want to be able to answer some of that as we're wrapping it up. So think about it. You might not know right off the top of your head, but if we start reading a little bit of the text, my guess is that it's going to come back to you. So we're going to read like the last page or so of chapter 1, because I didn't get to it. And remember that society values the good of the many, therefore equality 72521. Remember, they say we instead of I. So maybe when he says we, you could in your brain switch it for I. I did that a couple times so that it helped me keep track of what I was doing. Okay. So I'm going to pull up the last little bit of chapter 1, and then we're going to look through the questions. Okay. So I didn't just want to leave you high and dry. Let's see here.